welcome back to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast, the Working Class Podcast. We are the Blue Collar Ballers, John and DJ. Check us out on our Facebook page at Armchair Fantasy Football, on Twitter at Armchair FF Pod. I'm on Twitter at Armchair Kingpin. John is on Twitter at John2977. Email us at armchairfb@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Podbean. And you can find our videos on YouTube. Just search Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. We got big news, John. How you doing today? You doing good today?
Yeah, not bad.
Are you ready for the big news?
Sure.
Are you prepared?
I think so.
Are you excited? I want to hear some excitement.
Yay!
All right, there we go. So, hot off the presses, we are actually on the cusp, John, of breaking the top 100 fantasy sports podcasts on Apple Podcasts. How cool is that?
That's amazing.
That is amazing. We
Thank you, guys.
We didn't kick it off too long ago. We're about 61 episodes in. We started in the spring, and we have religiously put out content for you, our listeners, because it is important to us. This is the dream, and the dream is moving along quicker than I thought. I mean, to break the top 100 this quickly is pretty amazing, but we have not done that yet. And we need the help of the Armchair Army to do that, John. So, our listeners, we need you guys to advocate for us, to share our content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Talk us up to your friends and network. If we can crack the top 100, one listener, John, will get a free Armchair Fantasy Football t-shirt. All you have to do is leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe if you haven't done so already. The other way to be eligible is to subscribe to us on YouTube and leave a comment there. And as we hit bigger milestones, John, we're going to give out bigger prizes. But we're going to start with the top 100. We need to get into the top 100. We got to get 8 spots up, and we need you guys to spread the word for us. Let's start a revolution here. That's the level of intensity that I want to bring to this. Let's start a revolution and show these other podcasts that are backed by big networks or podcasts that have all the resources in the world, every resource they could want. They have their production team, they have their writers, they have their big fancy studios. We don't have all of that. So let's show them all what the Working Class Podcast is all about. Now is the time to kick it into high gear and get this thing to the next level. Right now, we are ranked 108 on the fantasy sports charts. We are up 18 spots, John. We are cruising.
That's a big jump.
And we need you guys to get us into the top 100 and get some free swag while you're at it. So remember, either write a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe, or subscribe on YouTube and leave a comment. If you do both, you're going to have a better chance of winning that cool t-shirt. And John has showed that. He has modeled that on the show before.
A few times, yeah.
I guess we should, on our next episode, we'll both wear one, and we will model that, and you guys can see what you're going to be potentially winning. One listener, if you guys get us into the top 100, we'll win a t-shirt, and then we'll go on to the next milestone, whatever that may be, and we'll make it a little bit bigger prize. Sound pretty fun?
Sounds good.
All right, I like it. So, with that being said, the other way you can help us out is by going to our GoFundMe page at www.gofundme.com/armchair-fantasy-football-podcast. If you guys could support us by making a donation, then sharing it with your network, we would greatly appreciate it. We know that money can be tight, so if you like what we're doing, please know that even $5 helps us get closer to our goal. So, you guys have Amazon TV or Hulu or all that stuff. We don't charge you guys a red cent for the great fantasy football advice and the adventures that we bring you on in every episode. So if you want to throw $5 into GoFundMe, it would really, really help us. We've invested a lot into this, what we want to be a business down the road, and it would really mean a lot if you guys could help us out in that regard.
Bigger business, more swag.
Yeah. or even just share the stuff that we put out regarding GoFundMe, which we will be posting stuff on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram today or tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled on that. And even if you can just share it, that's great too. So after I said all of that, let's get into the news, John. It's your turn.
Quite a bit of news. We'll rifle them off.
Exciting stuff, though.
Yeah, Julio Jones' foot is sidelined Wednesday. I would not read into this. It's more a day of a rest for a veteran, but he is fully expected to suit up this weekend.
I hope so.
But you got to report it.
He's on my keeper league team, so he's probably gonna sit. There's a possibility.
Philip Dorsett and Sanu both sidelined at practice for the Patriots. That's kind of concerning. Not a lot of weapons there, but keep your eye on it. If either one is, it could make N'Keal Harry a great option to pick up. If either one of them are out, or possibly Jacoby Myers too, if both are out.
To me, it's not concerning at all, John, because Jacoby Myers, Julian Edelman, and N'Keal Harry are all bigger talents than those guys could ever dream of being. So, to me, if you can get those guys involved, we never talk about Myers, but he's extremely talented as well. And you know my feelings on N'Keal Harry, so I want to see more of those guys.
Okay, next bit of news. Robert Woods is still away from the team's facility. I have not heard an update if he's going to play this weekend, but the reason he is out is personal reasons.
Something's going on there.
Yeah, I don't know if...
And you asked me, what is it? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not his publicist. And nobody's talking.
Nobody's talking. The team's not talking. I don't know what's going on with this, but usually when it's something personal like this, could it possibly be depression or something? Something medical? I mean, that we don't know.
Well, based on the season he's having... I'm going to be considered insensitive for that comment, I'm sure.
No, but I mean, it is depressing where he was last year, where he is now. But
I mean, you just never know, and I wouldn't even begin to speculate.
Yeah, keep your.
You need to keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on it, and if it's the case that Robert Woods is out, I mean, Cooks is still out. Josh Reynolds, good old Rennie, will become a great play.
He's the old standby.
Yep.
You know,
and I just dumped him last week.
The old fantasy booty call when all those other guys are hurt. Josh Reynolds is there for you. Just give him a call.
Some good news for Tyler Lockett. He is expected to play, Pete Carroll said. So no significant injury to him after last week. So that's great news for Tyler Lockett. Not great news if you're playing against him.
Not for me.
Now we go on to Thursday game. This is a couple things here for this. Will Fuller hamstring is still questionable for Thursday night's game, so keep an eye on it. He could play, and he could also be ruled out. So this is one of those things you're going to have to watch till the last minute. I don't think they're going to make a decision until warm-ups on him.
Like we said yesterday, man, I wouldn't risk it with him anyway.
Don't risk it for the biscuit.
No.
Also, in more Houston and Colts news, Jordan Wilkins was removed from the injury report. He's full go for the game. Do you think it's going to be a running back by committee here?
Yeah, this is kind of what I feared. I think Williams and Wilkins will probably split the carries. There may be a hot hand approach here, as they say, but it's too risky for me to really start either of those guys with playoff implications, you know. So I would probably pass on starting those guys this week. I hope that you picked up both of them or one of them in waivers, because I'm sure one of them will be okay. And I can't imagine Marlon Mack's going to miss only one game with that hand issue. But
I don't mean that. I think at least a couple, but they make it sound like he's going to miss one. That's it. But
but I think you're going to see a 50-50 split here.
Eric Ebron ankle return practiced in full today, and T.Y. Hilton is questionable again.
Yeah, has he practiced yet?
Nope.
Yeah.
So this is not trending.
It's a Thursday game.
This is not trending for T.Y. Like I said with Will Fuller, keep an eye on T.Y. as well. It would probably make... I can't start Pascal. But this is a great matchup facing a very bad Houston secondary. I think you got to consider... We'll go in more to that when we go.
So Houston actually, John, gives up the most points the most receptions to the running back position. Did you know that?
I do now.
Interesting, right? So who does that speak to? Nyheim Hines.
Who we just picked up.
Did we get him?
You gotta check.
Anyway, don't worry about that. We can check after. But Nyheim Hines could be a great start here. That's all I'm saying. And Pascal, he could be okay, but he's kind of a dart throw. I guess if you don't have better options, and I don't want to. We'll get into that game. It's actually the first one on the slate for us. But Nyheim Hines could be really interesting.
Yeah, Nyheim Hines, last year when Mac missed weeks 1, 3, 4, 5, Hines had reception totals of 7, 5, 9, and 7.
Yep.
He finished those weeks with PPR totals of 11, 8, 28, and 12.
So if you add that, John, to the fact that Houston gives Houston gives up the most receptions. I don't know why I'm struggling with this so much. Receptions to the running back position. That could equal a pretty good day for Nyheim Hines.
Yes, I mean,
and where we have, this is another funny thing. We don't have him.
Dope.
This is another funny thing. We have Adam Thielen, so I was all excited. I'm like, he's got to be back this week. He sat out basically the last couple weeks, and then I'm looking. I'm like, that freaking guy's on a bye this week. I'm really getting ticked off at Adam Thielen. Well, I sent you a text full of expletives.
Yeah.
related to Adam Thielen, so I'm mad at him that he's on a bye.
But I think the extra week will help when he comes back next week.
I'm tired of throwing the Russell Gages of the world out there. It's a deep league. So anyway, not to derail it, let's keep going.
Okay, more news. Deebo Samuel sidelined at practice with a shoulder injury. I didn't really hear anything about this till now.
Did this occur in practice?
No, it just says shoulder. So my guess is it's not anything significant. I don't think.
7-Eleven is not a sponsor.
Well, I wasn't trying to. It was just Thursday. Emmanuel Sanders, Matt Breida, and George Kittle all sit for practice today. But remember, this is a Sunday night game, so they have a little more time to rest. This could be more a day of rest for some of them.
I think Breida plays.
I think Breida doesn't play.
I think he does because most of the time he plays through an injury, and he didn't this last week, so I think he'll play this week.
I think Breida doesn't play. I think Kittle plays. I think
so.
Sanders plays, and I think Deebo plays.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil too much of the breakdowns, but I got my thoughts on if Kittle doesn't play.
Next bit of news, James Conner still sidelined his shoulder, so fire up Jalen Samuels.
Yep, absolutely.
AJ Green, shocker, is still sidelined.
Okay, here's the deal. AJ Green is not news anymore, so can we make a pact here? Until the news is that he's going to play, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, that's fine with me. I hate reporting.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with 100%. Yeah. One last thing, but
injury diva.
Auden Tate is sidelined with his neck.
Tyler Boyd might actually have a decent game. I mean, when you're the only receiver out there.
Or Alex Erickson.
It could be, Erickson could be as well.
It could be sneaky.
We'll talk about that.
Okay, next news, Corey Davis, who's going to haunt me again this weekend, and Delaney Walker both return to practice. It's an inside joke here, because Corey Davis, I had him last year, I cut him. Cut Derrick Henry. They're all coming back to haunt me this year.
Yeah.
So, next news, Juju is not expected to play versus Cincinnati.
Thank God for his career.
Next news, Sterling Shepard practiced in full, but still in concussion protocol.
I don't know. We'll talk about him when we get to the Giants.
Devontae Freeman foot is still out, and Hooper is out for week 12. Freeman hasn't been ruled out yet. Hooper has.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a bummer.
And Brian Hill is not a good backup. We'll move on.
And Freeman's been terrible this year.
Yep. Evan Ingram, foot, still sidelined.
I'm hoping he plays this weekend because I do have a league where I want to fire him up, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Too close to tell right now. If I had to guess, I would say he will play this week, though.
Alshon Jeffrey and Jordan Howard were both limited in practice, so that is an upgrade for this offense. Get two weapons back. It looks like they should play.
Have you ever owned either of those guys?
No, but I don't blame them.
I owned Jordan Howard in his breakout year, and I'm like, I got to get rid of this guy because this is going downhill fast. And I just never owned those guys. Just
Alshon, I think it was his second year.
They just bore me to tears.
Alshon actually had a good second year.
He's fine, but
who was that? Who's that quarterback then? Wasn't Trubisky.
Some dude. Was it...
Jay Cutler.
Yes, Cutler.
He actually did well with Cutler. Last bit of news, Tyreek Hill's hamstring pull is considered minor. That is great news, but it looks like he could, now he hasn't been ruled out yet, could miss this week and return next week against Oakland.
Cool.
That's it on news.
All right, so let's get into the slate of games, John, and we're going to start, as I said, with the Indianapolis Colts against the Houston Texans. Where do you sit on this game, John? Who you starting, who you sitting? Sorry, go ahead.
I think for which side are we starting with? It doesn't matter.
We'll start with Houston.
Houston, I think here you have to start Deshaun Watson.
No doubt.
Why
is that?
because the Colts are middle of the pack.
Are you afraid of last week?
Nope, I think it's a bounce back game. Watson is not known for having consecutive multiple meltdown games in a row.
No.
So I'm a believer in him having a bounce back week. It is also a divisional rivalry, so I think he'll play a lot tougher here. I also think DeAndre Hopkins is a great start here. I know this is a secondary doesn't like get picked on, but Houston does have the home field advantage, which does help.
Yeah, and I think Hopkins is obviously that alpha talent. Not a terrible matchup for him, not a great matchup. They're around middle of the pack. Are the Colts against the wide receiver position, where they do actually perform pretty well, is against the running back position. They give up the fourth least points to opposing running backs. So, not that you were anyway, but I would probably not start Duke Johnson and not start Carlos
Nope,
Hyde
I agree with that.
in this one. As far as the tight end position, where do you stand on Fells?
I'm gonna go here. I know Houston's right in the middle. And I say no Fells just because Darius Leonard's in that linebacking core, and I know these stats are kind of skewed because Darius Leonard didn't play for a few games.
They're pretty good against the tight end, though, anyway. They only allow 6.8 points to opposing tight ends.
So I don't think I can play them.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
And is it going to be Fells or Akins? Because they've changed back and forth.
Yeah, I'm not a big advocate for either of those guys. Moving on to the Colts, I actually think Brissett's probably a good start here. Number one, I think this might be a shootout. It might turn into a shootout. And the Texans aren't good against quarterbacks. They give up the 6th most points to opposing quarterbacks. Brissett has been known to have a nose for the end zone, so those two things right there tell me he's probably a pretty solid start this week. As far as if T.Y. Hilton plays, you have to start him because Houston is almost as bad. Well, they're even worse against wide receivers than they are quarterbacks. They give up the 5th most points to opposing wide receivers. So if T.Y. is out there, you definitely start him. But we go back to the Zach Pascal thing. If T.Y.'s out, I feel like you have to start him, John.
He should be the number one, but I mean the way this Houston secondary has been giving up points to receivers, you got to risk it. I think here.
And yes, and Houston's pretty solid against tight ends, so I don't know that. I mean, I think Ebron could definitely have a good day, but Pascal might. Like I said, if you don't have better options, if you're scratching the bottom of the barrel, like in my flex position, I'm going to start Mark Andrews or over Tyler Boyd and Emmanuel Sanders, unless Sanders is a full go. But I would not start Pascal over any of those three. You know what I mean? It's a break the glass type of, in case of emergency type of start. However, I'm sitting all running backs in Indy, with the exception of Nyheim Hines. I think this could be a game that proves really solid for him. I know that Houston's okay against the run, but they're also not great. And like I said, they've given up the most receptions to opposing running backs this season. And that, along with the stats that you gave for Hines, I think he's a pretty safe start this week. He's a good spot start.
Yep.
If you got Chris Carson on it, who are the buys this week?
Minnesota.
So if you got Dalvin Cook on a bye, you could do worse than Nyheim Hines.
I think a tricky play here if he's not ruled out. Paris Campbell if he's back.
Yeah, I don't know if Campbell's going to be out there or not.
He's practiced, but we haven't heard anything more on top of that practice from yesterday.
I love Campbell. I just can't buy into him yet as a guy that I can trust to start with play. And again, guys, I'm going to use this phrase a lot, playoff implications. There are playoff implications now in Week 12. You've got to make every start-sit decision with a fine-tooth comb. Like, you have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Not a decision I'd be willing to make with that much on the line with Campbell. All right, you ready to move on to the next game, John?
Yeah.
Buccaneers at the Falcons. 3-7 Bucks at the 3-7 Falcons. I wonder who's winning that division. In any event, this is a fire everything game. Would you agree with that?
This is a fantasy bonanza, except for one thing.
Tampa's good against the run.
No Atlanta backs. Period.
Yeah.
No Atlanta backs.
I would not. Even if Freeman's out there, I would sit him.
No Atlanta backs.
But other than that, John, I mean, Obviously, you're starting Julio. They give up the most points to opposing wide receivers. I have Julio this week. You scared me a little bit with the news there, but it sounds like he'll play. This is the game, I think, that I'll finally see what I've wanted to see from Julio Jones since I've traded for him. This could be and should be a huge game for him, but you know you're starting him anyway. I'm also starting Calvin Ridley. And in deeper leagues or risky situations where you don't have much else, I don't think Russell Gage is a bad start this week.
He's been seeing about 4 to 5 targets a game.
Yeah, he's given like 7 fantasy points or so. And against Tampa, he could give you even more than that. Like John said, Tampa is really good against the run. They're actually the second best in the league against the run. Don't start Freeman. Don't start Hill. You shouldn't start Hill anyway. Also, John, Tampa is not good against tight ends. But if it was Hooper, I would be all about it. But now, I don't think there's really anything to see there.
Not buying into the Jimmy Graham?
No, I think Russell Gage might get more targets. So I think Gage could be a really sneaky start this week, and Ridley and Julio should both feast. And, of course, Tampa's the second worst against quarterbacks. Matt Ryan should have a huge game. That's right, Parvin. I said Matt Ryan should have a huge game.
Another 300-yard game. Parvin, do your work.
Yeah, really. Do your
all
homework,
but
bro.
2 games. Actually, 3. 1, he was completely injured out.
Yeah.
2, we had 2 games under 300. Other than that, Parvin, every game.
It's the only situation in the world. It's the only situation in the world where fantasy means more than reality.
Yes.
And in fantasy reality, Matty Ice is the man. So yeah, you're starting him obviously. What about the other side of the ball?
On the Tampa side, I'm starting Jameis Winston here. Atlanta ranks 8th worst against quarterbacks, giving up 21.3 a game.
Yep.
I'm also firing up Mike Evans and Chris Godwin here. They also rank 8th worst against wide receivers, giving up 25.5 here. I think those two will have a very safe day, and if not, could explode here as well. Like we said, I think this game is a fantasy bonanza waiting to happen.
Bonanza. What about Ronald Jones / Peyton Barber?
Peyton Barber, no. Ronald Jones, what scares me about Ronald Jones is the fumble issue last week. Is he in the doghouse? Will it bite and limit his time? I know they said they're going to give him more carries, but as soon as he fumbled last week, he got less carries.
Right, it went downhill fast.
Yes. Does he start the doghouse this week? Does this become a split committee? I don't want to take that chance. I'm starting either one unless I'm desperate. If I do, it's Ronald Jones if I had to.
Cameron Brate? You're not starting O.J. Howard.
You could take... Atlanta's middle of the pack.
You could do worse than Brate.
You could do worse than Brate.
Yeah. And like John said, start the wide receivers, Godwin and Evans, but those are obvious every week starts. I don't think we're missing anybody there.
Nope.
On to the 3-7 Broncos facing the 7-3 Bills. 2 good defenses here, John. 2 really good defenses. I would probably go ahead, and if we're going to start with the Denver side of the ball, I would not start Allen. Buffalo is the 3rd best team against quarterbacks, so he's not a start. They're middle of the pack against running backs, so I think you can start Phillip Lindsay because I think this is going to be a low-scoring, high-rushing affair. I think Lindsay's a safer start. I'm not starting Royce Freeman because it seems like Lindsay has really taken that role back over and that they're more confident in him, John, than they are in Freeman. Would you agree?
Yes. The other part of this, to keep an eye on this game. It is in Buffalo this time of the year. I'm not saying there's going to be snow. I'm not a...
We're Mainers. So.
Yes, I'm not a meteorologist.
Don't even try. Oh, you got it. Nice.
But keep an eye on this game. Weather in New York area, same with like Denver, snow can come. I know both teams are used to this snow, but that changes the whole fantasy outcome here for everything.
It definitely could, yeah.
Yep. So
and I'm not high on a ton of guys in this game, to be honest with you. So, what about receivers?
Cortland Sutton, period. That's it.
I would start Cortland Sutton, even though these guys are pretty darn good against receivers. Tre'Davious White couldn't really handle Parker last week, but Parker's been in the league a few years. I don't know. I think I'm sitting Sutton. I really do.
I think Sutton's got a safe floor.
I think Tre'Davious White might shut him down. I really think this is going to be all about running the ball. So I think I'm sitting Sutton and Noah Fant.
Not a good matchup.
This team's really tough. The second toughest team against tight ends. I'm probably not starting Noah Fant either.
I don't blame you there.
So there's not a lot. I'm starting Philip Lindsay, I guess, is the moral of the story for the Denver Broncos. But you're going to toss in Mr. You're starting Sutton. I'm sitting Sutton.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever agree on Sutton from week to week. It seems like I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
I just like saying sitting Sutton.
Sitting Sutton
Just rolls right off the top.
Buffalo side. I am not. I'm not starting Josh Allen here. Denver is the third best against QBs. They're only giving up 12.8 a game.
The only reason you would start Josh Allen is because of the Konami code. Really the only reason you're starting him. But I think you can do better. Would you stream Sheriff Driscoll over Josh Allen?
Yes.
Interesting. I'd probably start Allen over Sheriff Driscoll.
I don't know.
Because how many of these backups have we seen show in some games and then just completely fall apart?
But Driscoll is a backup. Like, he's a decent veteran backup now.
He wasn't last year.
Well, I guess he learned his lesson because he showed it last week.
I will get to that game, but I think Sheriff Driscoll, he might get shot high noon at the OK Corral this week. I don't think it's going to be good for him. I just got a gut feeling about that. Other than that, for Buffalo, John, I think you can start Devin Singletary. Again, I'm starting the running backs in this game, and that's probably it. I'm not really interested in John Brown either, man. John Brown's going to deal with
Chris Harris.
Harris, not liking that. And none of the other receivers on this team, John, are steady guys that you can trust. So for me, it's Philip Lindsay on one side of the ball and Devin Singletary on the other. And if you're really desperate, maybe Frank Gore or Freeman.
What about Dawson Knox? He's like a middle of pack member. Okay, I'm just asking. I don't have him, but I'm just picking your brain on that one.
I wouldn't start him.
I don't know. I just feel like it's a Dawson Knox week. I don't know why.
Yeah, but you can go get Cameron Brate. And,
you know
what I mean? I just think there's much better options, John. That's my honest opinion on it. So moving on to the next game. Giants and Bears. The 2-8 Giants going to Chicago, going to the Windy City against the 4-6 Bears, John. This one could be a little ugly. What do you think?
Let's start with the Giants first.
You might as well, because I think they're the only team that has fantasy relevant players in this one.
No Dr. Jones.
No Dr. Jones.
Saquon, yes.
If he plays, which I'm hoping that he does, but definitely, the Bears have, they started strong against running backs, John, and now they're almost in the bottom 10 in the league.
Yeah, they've gone downhill.
With Aiken, right?
Yes.
Yeah, with him out, they just haven't been the same team. Am I right about that?
No,
Akeem Hicks, yeah.
Akeem Hicks, sorry.
Hey, we're all about the offensive guys here, right? We're not defensive gurus, but we definitely know that since Akeem Hicks has been out, this team cannot stop the run, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. So whether it be Barkley or Gallman, you're starting either one. If Barkley's out, you're starting Gallman. Trust me on that one. Outside of that, John, you look at the receivers. What are you thinking there?
I think Golden Tate's got to save enough floor.
Tate's a must start at this point, I think. I
really
do. I know the Bears are tough against receivers, but there's something to be said for trust. And when a quarterback gains trust in a receiver, that's where he's going to go.
But Tate's also a slot guy. They're a lot better on the corners, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I'll sit him in this matchup. But Darius Slayton, to me, is becoming a guy that could be a breakout next year.
Speed. He's fast. Yeah. I mean, he's very fast.
I really like Darius Slayton a lot. I just don't like the matchup.
There is one person I'm starting from the Giants team.
Is it Evan Ingram?
Yep, Evan Ingram.
Definitely.
Bears are bottom.
They're almost in the bottom 10.
They're almost in the bottom 10 against tight ends, giving them 8.1. But if Ingram plays, you start him here.
Yep, definitely. I agree with you on that one. As far as Chicago, I mean, it's a good matchup for these guys for sure. I can't, in good conscience, start Mitchell Trubisky, but he's probably not a bad spot start. Like, I've considered it, John, in my Aaron Rodgers situation, which we'll get to shortly. But, I mean, I guess you could spot start him, but just get ready to be disappointed. Allen Robinson, on the other hand, I think is a must start in this game. And I actually think David Montgomery should have a decent game, too. Those two guys I'm willing to start. I'm not trusting anybody else on that team.
The targets are all over the place for the receivers. Allen Robinson is the only sure thing for a wide receiver.
And I know he had a rough week last week, but
he's entitled to it, I think. Considering out of all the receivers, he's had the safest floor.
Yeah, so it's just those two guys for me in Chicago.
We say Robinson, and I'll tell you why. The stats behind it. Giants are the second worst against wide receivers. They've got 27.5 points a game, so that's why we said Allen Robinson. So let's move on.
Moving on to the next one. The 5-5 Steelers against the 0-10 Cincinnati Bengals. And not even the Cincinnati Bengals, John, could ever get me to start Mason Rudolph. Not on this planet or any other would I ever start Mason Rudolph. But what about you? What say you? They do give up the third most points to opposing wide receivers.
I still can't start Mason Rudolph here. I think I'm going to make a gut call here.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Bengals win the game.
It's possible.
They're playing at home. They almost won it last week. This week they win.
So let's stick with the Steelers for now. Jalen Samuel's a must start because I don't know. I don't think Connor's going to play. It doesn't look like it, right?
No, and he should have a safe enough floor. Like
he's going to get all the 3-yard passes his heart could ever desire, and he's going against the team that gives up the 4th most points to opposing running backs. So Jalen Samuel in this one is a must start. Make no mistake about it. That's all I'm doing. I'm starting Samuel, and that's it, John. On Pittsburgh.
Understood.
As far as Cincinnati is concerned, Pittsburgh's defense is really good. I'm probably sitting Mixon in this one. They're as good as they are. They're the absolute best against the run, in terms of their defensive scheme and their defensive ability. They're the best against the run than anything else. But they're also good against quarterbacks as well. So for me, maybe Tyler Boyd, maybe. I mean, they're okay against wide receivers, but that's probably about it. And I think Tyler Eifert could be a decent start here too, because Pittsburgh does give up the 7th most points against tight ends. So probably a Boyd-Eifert day. I'd be surprised if Mixon had a big day.
If Auden Tate sits out, I think Erickson becomes safe enough floor to get you 10 points.
He could. You're probably right about that.
Yeah, because they're middle of pack against receivers.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
So,
all right, well, let's
move on.
One. These are all crappy. How many crappy teams are there?
Can we just say no to
how many crappy quarterbacks and crappy teams are there this year? Fantasy has really hit the skids this year. Fantasy football.
This year, you gotta remember, this is probably the most different backup quarterbacks I've ever seen in one season. I don't know if it is a record.
And none of them are any good.
No, it's not like years past. You see somebody.
You see like a breakout. Yeah.
I'd say out of all of them, Minshew was probably the best.
Yeah, and he's sitting on the bench.
Yep.
He could start for any of these teams.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to belabor the point there, but...
What's next game?
As you guys know, I'm very frustrated with the backup quarterbacks in the NFL these days. We go back to a couple more crappy teams, John. We got the 2-8 Dolphins against the 4-6 Browns. I think Baker Mayfield is ready to explode in this one. What do you say?
This, if Baker cannot correct it here, you look good last week, but if he cannot correct it here and have a decent game, to me, Baker should minimum get 25 points here. Minimum.
The only position that Miami defends okay against is the tight end position. That's it. And you're not worried about that on Cleveland.
They barely used Demetrius Harris.
I think Cleveland's going to use this game as the opportunity. This is where I start Odell Beckham. And expect big things from him as well.
Yes, and here's why, folks. They ranked 9th worst against wide receivers.
We're talking 20-plus PPR points is what I expect.
25.4 a game. You start Landry as well.
Yep.
Safe floor, always does the safe targets. And you can Nick Chubb has a great matchup here.
And Kareem Hunt.
Yep, true. I forgot about Kareem Hunt. I keep forgetting he's back. They are 6th worst against running backs, giving up 22 points a game. So Landry, Beckham, Chubb, Hunt, and Baker start them up, and now we go to the Miami side.
I wouldn't be surprised, just to put a bow on that, I would not be surprised, hot take alert, if Hunt, Chubb, Odell, and Landry all had 20-plus PPR points in this game. Would not be surprised. I think they're out to prove something. They've shown that over the last couple of games, John, and now this is finally that sweet matchup that they haven't really had, and they can just explode here. And I think all 5 of those guys are going to explode.
So on the Miami side, who are you starting? Cleveland's okay against quarterbacks. They're bottom 12. They're 19 points a game. You starting Fitzmagic?
Yeah, I don't know. I've thought about it, to be honest with you. I mean,
it doesn't look like a bad matchup. I'm thinking Fitzmagic.
I could see this game, though. I could just see him throwing 7,000 interceptions in this game.
Let me ask you this question, and I know some people may do it, they may not. With Mark Walton being released, do you have if you have him, do you have the guts enough to start
Laird?
No, Balaj.
No.
Okay.
Heavens no. As a matter of fact, I was going to go down the road of saying Laird might be a guy to start, but I wouldn't do it yet this week. But I'm telling you,
it's a decent matchup this week.
And that job, John, is ripe for the picking. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Laird take that job.
But
I really would.
You're also forgetting a very significant thing with the Cleveland Browns defense. They do not have Myles Garrett to...
This is true.
They could be...
But the problem is, I think Balaj has lost the job. He had 1 yard a carry. Normally that's said plural, but it was singular. 1 yard a carry.
He had 11 fantasy points, though. Remember
because of a touchdown.
I know. I'm just saying, in PPR.
No, I think after that game, how could you do anything as the head coach but say he is not the guy?
No, Laird to me looks like we talked. And
he looked better. He looked better.
We talked off the podcast. He was intriguing to both of us.
I picked him up in Dynasty.
Yeah, because you asked me if I was going. Did I pick him up?
You might have got him in the keeper. You went after him in Dynasty.
Yeah. So,
but I got him.
But he's got very good skills out of the backfield catching wise, and I think Cleveland Browns without Myles Garrett could get exploited there, but it's a risky start.
We're already talking way too much about the Dolphins.
Okay,
you're starting Devontae Parker in this one, and Devontae Parker, and maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick if you're in a real bad spot.
You know what intrigues me here if you're in a bad spot and actually looks decent? Gesicki.
Nah.
Cleveland, 12th worst against tight ends. We'll move on.
That's great. Gesicki should be on the waiver wire. That's my opinion.
Good, I need a fill-in this week.
Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah, you got Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Is he on a bye? Yeah, that's right. They're on a bye. Yeah, that's good luck to y'all. You know, if you had Mark Andrews.
Oh, no, but
you traded him to me. It's not like I put a gun to your head. All right, let's
move on to
the next one. Another crappy team, the Carolina Panthers, 5-5. Go against a team that is not crappy at all, the New Orleans Saints, John.
We'll start with Carolina.
Okay, so this is interesting, Mr. Soroyce. The New Orleans Saints are the third best team against opposing running backs. So what's your expectation for Christian McCaffrey? I'm just laughing because he had a tough matchup last week. He got 30 points without a touchdown.
Christian McCaffrey's a must-start, period.
Yeah. But what's your expectation for him? I didn't ask you if you're starting him because that's obvious. What's your expectation?
My expectation is minimum 15 points.
Could this be the game where he doesn't show, though?
It's possible, but here's one of those things, like I always say, and people don't believe me, and I say it every time. Divisional rivalry.
Yeah.
Divisional rivalry. It plays a huge thing, especially the Saints are in first in their division, but the Panthers are still trying to crack a playoff spot. They're going to play tough.
Right.
They're not going to give up. I still think Christian McCaffrey will get 15 points here, at least minimum. They're on the road. They're on a dome. It does make it harder for McCaffrey, but McCaffrey's usage is so high and utilized so much out of the backfield.
He's a receiver, so you can't really look at him, as a running back necessarily. And as a receiver, New Orleans gives up the 12th most points to opposing receivers. So yeah, he could get you 30 again this week. Kyle Allen has a decent matchup, 13th most points to opposing quarterbacks do the New Orleans Saints give, but he proved last week he is not startable under any circumstances, so do not start him. Do not get tempted at all. Don't do it. What about Greg Olsen?
No.
I wouldn't either.
Bottom 10. These guys are like 10th best against tight end.
However, DJ Moore's a good start here, I think. I think DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey are the two guys I'm starting.
I think Curtis Samuel...
I'm fading him this week.
Okay. I'm saying start him.
Okay.
Actually, and here's why. Because there's plays that I don't know who's covering who, but there's a good chance that Marshawn Lattimore may miss this game.
Well, that's the other thing. So I think that really speaks to DJ Moore having a really good game.
Yeah, it depends who he's covering. I don't know who he's covering. If he's covering Moore, then Moore. If not, if he's covering Samuel, it could be Samuel.
It's a lot of Moores.
more.
If he's covering more, then,
Can I have some more?
Yeah. Alrighty then. What about the Nolan Saints, John? If you look at Carolina's defense, they are absolutely atrocious against the running back position. So I think Kamara is a good start here. Maybe a Latavius flex, get you 10 points.
I didn't like his usage last.
I didn't either.
But to correct that is a game like this against the Panthers.
It could be, but I think it's Kamara. I'm not really safely starting Latavius, but Kamara should have a huge game here, so no worries on this one. And Michael Thomas, I mean, Carolina's not that great against opposing wide receivers, so Michael Thomas is a must start. Drew Brees is a must start in this one. Jared Cook I might sit him because Carolina's actually pretty good against opposing tight
third
ends.
Best against tight ends.
So he's probably a sit this week. Anybody else?
Nope, that's it. Let's move.
Chugging right along to the black hole. Actually, it's in East Rutherford is this game. The New York Jets, who are 3-7, yet another crappy team, host the Raiders, who are surprisingly 6-4 this year. John, going to the Raiders, looking at the Jets. The best matchup I see here is I think Tyrell Williams is going to be big in this one. I think Tyrell Williams is going to have a huge game, and I think Hunter Renfrow.
Traded.
I was hunting the wrong Hunter there. Hunter Renfrow is also going to be a good start this week. I think just the PPR, especially in PPR. I would definitely start him in PPR. Josh Jacobs doesn't have as good of a matchup, but given the usage that he's had as of late, I would definitely start him. And the Jets don't shut down the run either by any means.
The thing I'm starting to like about Josh Jacobs is those goal line carries.
Yeah.
So even if, let's say, he only gets you 40 yards rushing, but he plunges in for that 1 yard touchdown, there's your 10 points for the week right there.
Yeah.
Not including the target, so he's safe.
And if you have Pat Mahomes on a bye, you could definitely, and we do, by the way, you could definitely start Derek Carr in a pretty good matchup against the Jets, which we are.
Yes.
So the Jets give up the 11th most points to opposing quarterbacks, so I think Derek Carr's a really good start this week as well. What about the Jets side of the ball?
Jets side of the ball, I think you can start Sam Darnold. Raiders ranked 7th worst against quarterbacks, giving up 21.4. Never thought I'd say start Darnold, but he's looked good last week. But this is a matchup to get it corrected, too. Also, on the Jets side, you have to start Jamison Crowder here. Raiders ranked 7th worst against wide receivers, giving up 25.7 a game, and then...
What about Robbie Anderson?
No.
I don't think he's a start at all. He just doesn't have the chemistry with Darnold.
Robbie Anderson's starting to remind me of...
But down the stretch last year, John, he did. And he won you a championship.
Oh, no, he did, but... I haven't seen it, but his usage got better last year. It's not trending better this year.
And there was no Demarius and Jamison Crowder there either.
Robbie Anderson reminds me of a poor man's Will Fuller.
He reminds me of Will Fuller. But yeah, I guess a poor man's given... He doesn't have those 40-point games.
No, he hasn't had... Yeah, at least Fuller's had a 40-point game.
So listen, I agree. I could definitely justify starting Sam Darnold in this game. But Oakland... I mean, they weren't pushovers last week when we thought that, that was a great start. So just be careful with it. Jamison Crowder, however, is a great start. Demarius to a lesser extent. And I think this could be another game where Ryan Griffin could really show.
Definitely. Raiders are 3rd worst against tight ends, giving up 9.9 points a game.
Yeah, so I like Griffin in this one, and I like Lev Bell as well.
Lev Bell's got a safe... I always say he has a safe floor, but his target's been all over the last few games.
I think this is an opportunity for him to get right. Oakland is to give up the 13th most points to opposing running backs, right around 20. So that's I think that's a soft place to land, as my boy Dr. Phil would say, for Le'Veon Bell. Moving on, 8-2 Seahawks go to Philly against another crappy team, the 5-5 Philadelphia Eagles. Russell Wilson. WrestleMania, John, is going to run wild in this one. Am I right or am I wrong?
Here's why. It's not so much what the Eagles give up at the quarterback position. In the middle of the pack, giving up 17.1. It's the receivers. They are 4th worst against receivers, giving up 27 points a game. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, must-starts for me.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Without even looking at it. Russell Wilson, a must-start.
What about Josh Gordon?
No.
I got a good feeling about Josh Gordon.
I don't.
I say you start him.
I don't like his usage yet. I don't know what he knows about this offense. He's a no for me, but let's
But you got a banged up Tyler Lockett. I think this could be a good game for Gordon.
Oh, we'll see. Hopefully you're right. You could be right.
I probably am.
Chris Carson. I said no.
Nah, Carson's a must start, John. I never thought I'd say that, but the guy just gets the usage and he gets the work in the passing game. I get that Philadelphia has been really good against the run this year, but how can you sit Chris Carson under any circumstance?
I get what you're saying, the volume.
Yeah, and he's a must start for me, absolutely. Basically you start everybody in Seattle. What about Hollister? Would you start Hollister this week?
Eagles are sixth best against tight ends here. Only giving a 5.8 per game.
I'm with you on that one. I think Carson Wentz is a good start this week. Seattle is not great against opposing quarterbacks. They're about middle of the pack. I'm a little worried about Miles Sanders. I'm going to sit him and probably even Howard if he plays. But... Go ahead. You had a thought.
Yeah, what scares me about this, let's say Jordan Howard doesn't play. I know he was limited today. If he doesn't play, but the question is, you signed Ajayi.
We haven't seen anything.
Is this the week? And does he explode for 20 touches? Miles Sanders gets 5.
I'm not starting either of them.
I can't trust this backfield till I know what's going on with Ajayi.
Who I am starting is Zach Ertz, and I'm telling you, I'm starting Dallas Goedert too, because you could start both of them last week, and they both got you double digits, and I think you can do it again this week.
Seahawks are 6th worst team against tight ends, giving up 8.8 points per game. That's a lot of 8.8s.
No diggity. All right, good in that one?
Yep.
On to the next one. Another crappy team. You guys see a pattern here? 2 more crappy teams. Are there any good teams left in the NFL, John?
I think what they're trying to do is balance the crap with the good.
Oh, my God.
Okay,
Parody?
next.
Anyway, the Detroit Lions, 3-6-1. Talk about kissing your sister. Well, they're going against their sister, the Washington Redskins, in Washington. You know what, John? I'm going to let you dance to this song this weekend. It's the Kenny Galladay show this weekend. And it's also the Marvatron show this weekend, too. So make no mistake about it, you should be starting both of those guys. I don't even care if Sheriff Driscoll is the quarterback.
They are both tied for receiving touchdowns in the league for the lead.
Washington is middle of the pack, but I think you're definitely going to see a situation where they don't have... I mean, Washington's bad against the run, but they don't have any running backs, John. I don't know if I can trust any of these guys to start. Bo Scarborough, Bo Derek, whatever the guy's name is. I mean,
Bo Jackson.
What are we doing here?
Okay, PPR-wise...
Who's the other guy, Skippy McKissick, or whatever his name
is the PPR back, just to clarify things.
So just like yesterday we said DJ, everybody named DJ is really good. Well, in the alternate universe, everybody named JD sucks, so don't start it.
Okay, JD's not a must start.
But I think you're going to see a lot of passing by Sheriff Driscoll.
I hope you're right.
And his two farm hands. I don't know. That's terrible.
What about T.J. Hawkinson here?
The deputies. His 2 deputies. Is that better?
Yes. What about T.J. Hawkinson?
Should edit that out. T.J. Hawkinson? No. Why would I start T.J. Hawkinson?
I'm just asking. I guess Washington's 13th against the tight ends. They're not that good. They're 13th worst, actually. You know what I'm saying? They're bottom.
T.J. Hawkinson sucks. You're starting Kenny Galladay. You're starting Marvatron, and you might start Driscoll.
Okay, so on the Washington side, who are you starting? Detroit.
Detroit's bad at defensive things, too.
Detroit is 4th worst against quarterback. Is this a game that Haskins can get corrected?
It just says McLovin. That's all it says, and that's all you're starting. It just says McLovin.
Even McLovin faces Darius Slay?
Yes, you're starting McLovin this week.
Okay.
I think you could... I want to start Geis. I really want to.
This is the number one team against running backs that stinks. They are the worst against running backs.
But Darius Geis will probably get hurt.
I'm starting Darius Geis.
And they're the worst against running backs. And then Zeke Elliott went in there and turded all over the floor.
But divisional rivalry, this is not divisional rivalry.
All of a sudden, Adrian Peterson sees the fountain of youth because it's a divisional rivalry.
No.
Wait a minute, this isn't a division rivalry. Oh, you mean
No,
last
yeah,
week,
last week was a divisional rivalry.
No,
This
it
is not.
wasn't. Detroit's not in the same division as Dallas.
Oh, no, Detroit and Dallas played. You're right, correct. Yeah, wait a minute. Oh, I know what it is. It is a rivalry.
It is?
Yes.
The Thanksgiving rivalry.
Yeah, I was thinking new.
That doesn't count. That does not count. Nice try. Nice try to cover your tracks.
They usually play Thanksgiving Day.
Well, Zeke was
so-
trash last week, and your son is doing the floss over there,
Yeah,
which is really
floss, man.
distracting.
Sorry.
I'm surprised I even know what the name of that dance is. Anywho, let's get back on the track here. So, Detroit Lions, really crappy defense, really crappy against the tight end position. What are your thoughts there?
I say no.
I agree.
I say no. I don't know.
I'm grabbing at straws to try to figure out who to start in Washington.
But here's the thing, though, people.
Who even is their tight end?
Who is your tight end? I have no idea. Can you please tell me?
So, like I said, John, it just says McLaughlin.
But here's the other part of it, though.
You could
too.
start Geist, though.
Yeah, here's the other part of it, too. A lot of people seem to think that sometimes when it's two bad defenses playing each other, that it should be a fantasy bonanza. Not necessarily true.
Because you got two bad offenses, too.
Exactly.
Well, Detroit's not bad, dude. They just went slug for slug with the Cowboys.
But what Detroit offense are we going to see this week? Is it going to be a bad one, a good one? So, I don't know. I've just got a feeling that this game is like 16-10. It's a low-scoring affair. I don't know. Geist is the only one I can actually play. I'm not even sure if I'm playing McLovin in my league. I know you are.
It just says McLovin.
Okay, move
All
on.
right,
Next
get
game.
away from this crappy game. You guys are trash. Anyway, what's the next game on the docket here? Oh, it's the Jaguars. Another crappy team. 4-6 Jaguars against another crappy team. The Tennessee Titans, John.
Oh, God.
Yo, you got it? I love embarrassing you.
It always puts me on the spot, too.
DJ Chark do 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 is a must start do 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 do. Don't you agree, John? Do
Yes.
do do do. Thank you. That was pretty good. That was pretty good, man.
That was good.
You gotta give me that.
Who else are you starting from Jacksonville? What about Nick Foles?
I don't know. I'm just so excited about DJ Chark. So listen, just to talk about DJ Chark really quick. Back in the day, man, and I'm going to tell you why I think he's a must-start. Back in the day, back in the early part of this season, the Tennessee Titans were a defense that we weren't joking about, man. But since then, not so good.
No, they're like middle of the
Not
pack
so
now.
good.
They went from like being a top 5 D last year when the season finished to they are middle of the pack. They are middle of the pack.
Right.
Except for a couple categories that are even worse.
So, last time he faced Tennessee, John, he put up 17.6 fantasy points in PPR, 4 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. Tennessee, as we said, was playing much better at the time. They're not the same defense right now. Tennessee is in the bottom 10 now against wide receivers, giving up the 9th most points to the position. DJ Chark is a must-start.
What about D.D. Westbrook?
Yeah, I think he's if he's out there. Well, did he miss last week? No, he played last week.
No, he played last week.
I think he's okay, but do you really, again, I'm going to go back to the playoff implications aspect here. Do you really want to start D.D. Westbrook with your season on the line?
No.
I'm starting DJ Chark. I'm also starting Lenny Fournette. You know why? Because the news you just broke out yesterday, well, you didn't break it, but you can take credit for it if you want, I guess. Head coach Doug Moron, that's what we call him, his real name's Doug Marone, admitted we need to get Lenny going, and he really seemed committed to getting Fournette chugging along this week.
So my guess is
I think you're going to see a lot of Leonard Fournette.
I think it's going to be 20 to 25 touches for him at least.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
And if you look at Tennessee, I mean, they're not great against running backs. They're not bad against running backs. They're solid against running backs. But like we say with Chris Carson, when you're getting the workload and you're getting a heavy workload, and it's probably going to be a run-heavy game script, wouldn't you agree, John?
Yeah, both sides of the ball, I think.
That
too.
speaks to starting Leonard Fournette all day long in this one. So for me, it's DJ Chark, it's Leonard Fournette. I don't know if I'm probably passing on Nick Foles, to be honest with you. I'm good
Understood.
there.
So on the
Tennessee stinks against tight ends too, but there's nothing to see there.
Oliver is not nothing. Gosh,
Hard
Oliver is
pass.
anything. So on the Tennessee side, Derrick Henry's got a great matchup here. Jacksonville, I never thought I'd say this. They are the 9th worst team against the run, giving up 21.1 to running backs. Derrick Henry should feast here.
Yeah, he should have a great
This
game.
could be a 200-yard game for him again.
Yeah, he's a definite start. I don't hate a Tannehill start here, John. I don't hate it. But again, I think this game is going to be a low-scoring, run-heavy game. I'm really not high on many of the Jaguars outside of the two guys I talked about, DJ Chark and Leonard Fournette. Kind of the same can be said about Tennessee, man. It's Derrick Henry, and that's probably it. You kind of joked about Corey Davis, but this actually is not a great matchup for opposing wide receivers, so I would definitely sit those guys as well.
Okay.
All right, sorry. We just took a quick video break, and I can't stop laughing for some reason. So, Cowboys, Patriots, how about them Cowboys? They're going to lose to the Patriots, but that doesn't mean much to me because I'm all about that fantasy action. I think, John, and you can agree with me, I've seen a lot of Cowboys, you've seen a lot of Patriots. These teams get up for each other. These are always high-scoring affairs. I don't think this is going to be any different. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one. This is my fantasy blow-up game of the week right here. What do you think? I don't care about that New England defense. I don't care. Frankly, the defenses are both great. These are both great defenses. But I think it's all about the offense this week, man, in a really, really huge matchup.
You want to know my honest opinion? I'm a Pats fan. I never thought I'd say this.
They're going to lose.
Yep.
They're not going to lose to the Cowboys, dude. I would bet you $500 right now. And I know you're going to back off once I say that because you know I'm right.
You know I don't even have $500. But here's what I think.
GoFundMe.
Yeah, people, please get that up now. Let's put a GoFundMe in there real quick. I think the reason why the Pats lose, their defense is doing well, but they're going to be on the field too much here. Brady has not got anything going. This run game.
So we're starting with the Pats here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brady concerns me. Brady is not even a top 10 quarterback anymore. I love the guy to death, but let's be honest, age has caught up with him. As the season progressed, we talked about this early in the season, he gets actually worse as the season progresses. These are not even me saying this. These are stats, people. And we're getting close to that week 11, week 12 implosion every year, these certain weeks, that he starts to go downhill. And it's trending down. We saw last week. And I think it'll continue for a few more weeks, then they'll pick back up. Let's be honest, folks. They have one loss. They can afford another loss. It's not going to hurt them. I just think the offense is banged up a little bit. I think they're going to go 3 and out quite a bit here. Cowboys defense, they're trying to... Let's be honest. They're not bad. They're not great. But I think Brady and the Pats offense will not get anything going here. The defense will give up stuff to Dallas.
Listen. Dallas is got an excellent secondary. But that's not where... Are you going to slurp away over there?
Let's slug on the straw.
That's not where Julian Edelman resides. Julian Edelman resides underneath. And that's where Dallas struggles. They struggle against those little shifty, fast guys that get yak like it's going out of style. Julian Edelman's going to destroy this defense. I'm telling you right now, Julian Edelman's going to destroy this defense. And he's not going to throw the passes. I think Tom Brady's going to throw the passes in this one. Tom Brady's a must-start. Julian Edelman is a must-start. And if those two guys are out, Dorsett and Sanu, N'Keal Harry explodes in this one. I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm telling you. This is a N'Keal Harry game. You're probably not starting him. You probably have better options. But he's a sneaky flex start if you need a high upside guy. I think he could catch multiple touchdowns in this one. Also, Dallas gives up more against the run than they do any other position. They're middle of the pack against the run. I think this is going to be a Sony Michel, James White, Julian Edelman game script. I think you're going to see those guys get the bulk of the yardage, and I think N'Keal Harry's going to get you maybe 3 passes, but 2 of them are touchdowns. I just have that feeling. That's a gut feeling, guys. Definitely don't take it to the bank. That's just how I feel inside.
Do you want to know who I think goes off if they go off for a running back for the Patriots?
Who?
Rex Burkhead. He's due. He hasn't been relevant for so long. This will be the Rex Burkhead game.
The guy breaks his ankle stepping off the bottom step, dude.
So he'll have a huge game here and then be on IR for the rest of the year.
I disagree with you on that one, but we'll see. As far as the Dallas Cowboys, John, so here's the interesting part too. And again, the Cowboys have a great defense, and the Patriots have a great defense, but the Patriots played a good offense and got crushed by the Baltimore Ravens. Last week, they held Philly in check, but Philly's offense is kind of in flux. They got a lot of injuries. Dallas, I think, can really take it to New England on the ground. They've been susceptible against the run as of late. I think Zeke, I got to believe at some point he's going to be like, man, I suck, and I need to work really hard. I think this could be the game where that happens. I think he could blow up in this game. I like Zeke's chances this week, despite the tough matchup. Amari Cooper's banged up, so I'm a little nervous about him.
I love Michael Gallup.
I love Michael Gallup in this game. I think you're going to see a lot of Michael Gallup. I think Jason Witten could have a big game. I'm comfortable starting him this week. And I'm starting Dak Prescott because I really think this is going to be a high-scoring affair.
Dak, I don't even care about the matchup. Dak has earned the must start now.
This is another.
He's been playing that well.
So there was a few games I circled on the calendar for New England to see what they were made of truly defensively. It was Baltimore, it was Kansas City, and it was this one. So we're going to see. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I hope. For fantasy's sake, I hope, because there's a lot of fantasy-relevant players involved in this game, and we all want to see points scored. And I think that's what's going to happen. And the New England Patriots are going to win. There is no way down.
We'll see who's right.
I am telling you right now, there is no way Jason Garrett beats Belichick on any planet ever. It will never happen. There is no universe where that will ever happen. That's the truth right there.
Okay, next game.
All right, moving on to the next game, John. Aaron Rodgers faces the 49ers. 49ers allow the second least points to quarterbacks. I am an Aaron Rodgers owner in my league of record. Second least points to quarterbacks. However, there are two things at play here, John. The 49ers had the Broncos, Bucks, Bengals, Steelers, Browns, Rams, Redskins, and Panthers. All of those teams have one thing in common. They have quarterbacks that have struggled this season at one time or another, and in most cases, they've struggled all season. Over the last 3 weeks, San Francisco has allowed 22 points per game to the opposing position against Arizona and Seattle. So that's pretty encouraging. I do not personally think Green Bay will be able to get the ground game going much. Over the last 4 weeks, San Fran has racked up 51, 28, 27, and 36 points. Aaron Rodgers is likely going to have to play catch-up here, John. But hear what I'm saying. And I know you guys think I'm probably going towards you got to start Aaron Rodgers. Just hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying Rodgers is a must-start. What I am saying is if you're in a tough spot like me and you're the Aaron Rodgers owner and you have no other option, this information might make you feel better. The question is, John, will Green Bay, when they get in close, pass or run? And if they run the ball when they get in close, that only means one thing. It'll be an Aaron Jones.
He's got his own song now.
He has earned his own music.
You said you had a surprise. That's good. I gotta give you credit.
It'll be the Mr. Jones show.
See, I'm that.
You like that build up?
If you guys don't know, I'm 42.
Yeah.
And that song just brought back so many memories. Counting Crows.
Yeah, you got it.
Yep, old school right there, folks. I remember Counting Crows, Mr. Jones and me.
So there's the question, John. In all seriousness, it's a tough matchup, and for Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers. San Francisco is the second best against opposing quarterbacks. They're the fourth best, against opposing running backs. They are the sixth best against opposing wide receivers. This could be a tough day, but if you think about it, Emmanuel Sanders torched this team. Russell Wilson did fine against this team. Kyler Murray has crushed these guys twice.
So here's one trend I noticed that you brought up. So all the quarterbacks they faced
We're trash.
Yes, except for two. Actually, except for two.
I think Rivers had a decent game against them, but and they dominated Dak. So if you look at the big picture, they faced mostly bad quarterbacks.
Yeah. So my gut's going to tell me here. I would play Aaron Rodgers, and here's why. 49ers faced Kyler Murray twice. He actually had 25 points, 24 points fantasy wise. He's a somewhat mobile quarterback with he has a decent arm. Russell Wilson, another mobile quarterback with a decent arm. Or great arm, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now they face Aaron Rodgers. He is a mobile quarterback. I hate to say it, but Aaron Rodgers can run and scramble.
Yeah.
But he has great accuracy. If they don't keep him contained in this pocket, Aaron Rodgers is going to shred them.
And I think they're going to play from behind. Think about what San Fran, for all Garoppolo's interception and turnover faults, they've scored a ton of points. They are a high-scoring, fast-paced, potent offense, and I think Green Bay's going to play from behind. Now, they played from behind before, and it didn't mean crap for you as an Aaron Rodgers owner. So I'm not saying start Aaron Rodgers. I'm just giving you reasons to feel better about it if you have to.
No, I actually...
You're starting Aaron Jones, you have to.
You have to start Aaron Jones.
But temper your expectations. You're starting Devontae Adams, you have to. But temper your expectations. But there are some chinks in the armor of the San Francisco defense. That's what I'm telling you right now. And they have struggled as of late. They almost lost the last 3 games.
Yeah, Kenyon Drake, the first matchup they played him had 150 yards. And then the second game, not so good, but still had a decent game for a team that's supposed to be one of the best against the run. So
if it was in Green Bay, I'd feel better about it. But frankly, Rodgers hasn't really been that great in Green Bay this year. So nice weather over there in San Francisco. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe
I'm not rushing to start any of them. But I think you could start Rodgers if you had to, like me, and I think you have to start Jones.
You have to start Devontae Adams. You have to.
I'm not starting anybody.
Nope. On the San Francisco start, my must start as long as he plays is George Kittle. Green Bay is 4th worst against tight ends, giving up 9.1 points a game. On top of that, Tevin Coleman, great start here. Green Bay is 5th worst against running backs, giving up 22.7. If Matt Breida plays, I'd say start Matt Breida, but I don't know. The injury thing scares me with him here. Does he play has 8 reps and then goes out because of an ankle?
I'm going to tell you right now, if Matt Breida plays, you start him.
Okay.
You can't worry about injury.
Oh.
You look at matchups, you look at opportunity. Matt Breida's got them both this week if he's out there.
So if Breida doesn't play, what about Mostert?
I'm just starting Coleman.
Okay.
I'm not a Mostert believer, and he proved it last week.
Yeah, he choked last week in a good spot.
It wasn't that bad of a matchup either. So, with that being said, Garoppolo might have a tough time this week. I think he'll be okay, but I think he can only support one receiver outside of Kittle. And real quick on the Kittle thing, start Ross Dwelly if Kittle's out.
Yes.
Because this matchup is good. Last week's matchup was good, and Dwelly took advantage of it, and I think he could again this week.
2 TDs.
Yep, definitely. He didn't have much volume, but
2 TDs. That's
touchdowns are what matters, especially at the tight end position. Emmanuel Sanders, if he plays, I'm a little nervous about it because he didn't look like himself last week. But again, he's such a huge part of that offense. I would probably start.
But it's also ribs. That's what scares me.
Yeah,
ribs is one of those touchy. Yes. So keep an eye on.
So do you start Debo? I guess is the big question here.
If Sanders out, yes. But I think I don't know. My gut tells me this. I think Emmanuel Sanders will be a decoy this week if he does play, or he won't play. His usage will be less than half. But I could be wrong. Wait and see what the reports are. I do like Debo this week. I think Debo, even in a tough matchup, they're starting to utilize him on runs. He's being utilized in multiple ways, and that's a Shanahan thing. You know that. He likes to do those end arounds. I think you're going to see Debo Samuel used more, not just in the passing game, but also the running game and creative plays. His targets show it exactly. So, who's next?
Who's next?
Ravens, Rams.
Yeah. I'll let you start with the Rams.
Okay, the Rams will be facing a Ravens team that is actually pretty good against quarterbacks. So
well, ask Tom Brady. He'll tell you.
Yep. They're sixth best against quarterbacks, giving up only 14.5 a game to the quarterback position. Goff is a big no here.
Yeah, he's a no to me anyway.
Anyway, he's a backup quarterback at this point. Hollywood Brown. Sorry, I'm doing the wrong side. I think here you have to start Cooper Kupp. If Robert Woods is out, like it's trending, you have to start Cooper Kupp. Pure volume here, even facing the Ravens. They're like middle of the pack for defense. But Cooper Kupp, based on volume here, I think you have to. No Gerald Everett. They're good against tight ends, about the fifth best team against tight ends, fourth best, I mean. Only giving up 5.4. And I think you start Todd Gurley, because if you have Woods out and Cooks is out, the only other person I could see on the Rams side of the ball that might see some volume because of the matchups would be good old Rennie, Josh Reynolds. That's it.
Yeah, it's Gurley, it's Kopp. If Woods is out, it's Reynolds. If Woods is in, it might be Reynolds. Something's going on with Robert Woods. And
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I'm avoiding him like the plague right now until I see it, which might be a mistake, but that's where I'm rolling with those guys. This offense is bad, you know. And
the LA Rams, as bad as their offense is doing, their defense is actually not that bad.
It's not. But with that being said, I am starting Lamar Jackson all day long.
You have to. The guy.
I don't know why we say, "I'm sorry, Miss Jackson." Maybe because he's away from home so
Lamar
much.
Jackson.
But yeah, no, Lamar Jackson, you're starting every darn week. Not a great matchup for him, though. Just to throw that out there.
No, Rams are like 10th best against the quarterbacks, only giving up 15 points.
Not a horrible matchup, but he's got the Konami code. He'll be fine.
Exactly. That's the thing. Rams are like top 10 defense right now based on the numbers. If you look at it, they're like top 10, basically.
Well, Lamar Jackson's about to adjust that.
But the problem with Lamar Jackson, unless they contain him, which this team could with Aaron Donald, if they can't contain him in the pocket and force him to throw, but that's where he can shred him too. That's the thing about Lamar Jackson is teams have tried to contain him in the pocket so he gets 50 yards, but he has been shredding them in the passing game.
And this is, to me, another big week for Mark Andrews.
The only thing that helps the Rams here, Jalen Ramsey coverage on Hollywood Brown. That gives Mark Andrews a plus matchup.
Mark Andrews. In our keeper league, I'm starting Kittle or Dwelly in my flex, and I'm starting Mark Andrews at tight end. I'm going with both those guys.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you, because if you just think about that, Hollywood Brown will be covered by Jalen Ramsey, period. Yeah. That's it. You know that. Who does that leave? Willie Snead has not been really existent. The only person who can throw a wrench in that is like Hayden Hurst.
Yeah.
Because every once in a while he gets involved.
What about the running backs here? Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards.
Mark Ingram, no.
No?
No, middle. They're top 12. They're top.
They are, but don't you think there's going to be a goal line carry there? I guess at this point you're flipping a coin on who it is. I mean, both Gus Edwards and
Gus Edwards went off last week. Ingram
they both scored last week. Yeah.
So I'm not confident on either one.
Neither am I.
I mean, if you have to mark Ingram, you have to.
I would go Ingram. Yeah.
But that's it.
Cool.
That's a fast show.
It was, but there's a lot of crappy teams playing other crappy teams this week.
It's a crapola fest.
It's been just such a weird year, man. It really has, and it is. This season in fantasy football has really challenged the status quo. That's for sure. So hopefully you're surviving it. Hopefully you're still in the hunt for the playoffs. Week 12 is here. We got 2 more weeks, John, and then we're talking playoffs, and then
playoffs.
And then we'll talk to these guys about how to win a championship in the playoffs. And it's not always starting your studs, John, is it?
No.
You've proven that.
I've proven that many a time.
So that's it for today. Thanks again for listening to the Working Class Podcast, the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. We are the Blue Collar Ballers, DJ and John. Let's get to the top 100. Until next time,
please.
good luck this weekend, unless you're facing us.
See you guys soon.